It is my honor and pleasure to welcome you to this virtual open day, as well as share with you the story, even though very briefly, of ESSEC Business School, as well as our campus here on ESSEC Asia Pacific, and take any questions later, and also introduce you to the panel that we have around me. We have with us Ms. Stephanie Teo, Head of Learning and Development, Bank of Singapore, Mr. Monique Thacker, Senior VP of Marketing, Las Vegas Sands Corp. We have with us also Mr. Larry Medina, Head of Career Services, Corporate Relations and Alumni Relations in ESSEC Asia Pacific. And last but not least, Mr. Chris Chong, Managing Director of Capital Land Retail, who will take on after me in a very interesting panel on what happens after the MBA, how to use the MBA and postgraduate education to pivot your career. So without further ado, let me move on to the next slide. Indeed, it's quite hard to capture all the milestones of a wonderful school like ESSEC with over 100 years of innovation in one slide. At the same time, what we have here are some of the key achievements and milestones of the school, which started in 1907, as you see in the picture, with 7 gentlemen in France. And right now we have more than 60,000 alumni across the world in multiple countries, in all kinds of industries, as you can imagine. But the key thing to note, especially for our Singapore campus, is that we were invited in 2002 by the Singapore government as a part of the Global Schoolhouse to set shop here and be a part of the international education landscape. And in 2005, we did start a small campus in the National Library. We had 2 floors where we were renting. We had a few programs coming in from France. We had a few faculty over here. And finally, over the past 15 years, since 2005, we've been here since 2005. And then in 2015, we have the physical campus here in One North. So indeed, the school has progressed a long way from 1907 to now, and we continue to look forward to the different kinds of talent that we can attract to our campus, the ways in which we can embed ourselves in the local community, especially in ESSEC Asia Pacific, and with the corporate connections and with the partners that we have in Singapore, to see how we can move forward with the various programs that we have over here. What else? ESSEC, a global business school with French roots. Indeed, many schools can claim that they are training influential leaders. They want to create and disseminate cutting-edge knowledge. They want to embrace complexity and technology, whether it's digital disruption or indeed the fact that we are living in a very cultural and globalized world. But the fact that we have campuses around the world enable us to achieve our mission in a very hands-on and experiential way. For example, we have a campus in France, 2 campuses in France, in Cergy and La Défense. We have one in Morocco, in Rabat, and we have one in Singapore. And not to forget, we also have the digital campus, which is a virtual campus for executive education. That's not just like taking a Zoom or a MOOC or a YouTube video, but it's really a very immersive experience where participants from around the world can understand and appreciate business challenges and learn from each other. The fact that we have multiple campuses is not that we just want to set up campuses around the world. We do want to enable our students to have a gateway to Asia, a gateway to Africa, a gateway to Europe, so that they can embed themselves in the business community where these campuses are set, to sort of embed the theories and learnings that they have in class in the practices of these businesses, so that they can have a reality check of what they are learning with the actual challenges that the businesses are facing around the world. ESSEC Asia Pacific, as I mentioned, from 2005 to 2015, we were small in the National Library, and right now we have more than 67 employees, including faculty and staff. We have over 1,000 students that come on campus across the different programs, and this is one of the key achievements for us to see how this campus can grow in the coming years, with our key vision being from 2020 onwards, elevating our visibility, strengthening our reputation, as well as achieving the impact through all the different leadership partnerships and performances that we can see for our talents, as well as the partners that we have with us on campus. This is, of course, done through the various programs we have here in ESSEC Asia Pacific. We have, I won't go into the details, which you can always find on our website, but it is important to mention we have bachelor's programs, we have the MBA, we have the executive MBA, we have many master's programs as well as executive education and customized programs offered to different companies. And as I mentioned earlier about the fact that we have a campus here in Singapore, it's not just to take the same course in a different geography. It is really to understand the subject matter from an Asian perspective. And on the slide here, you have some examples of the courses that try to customize the learning, whether it's being global manager in Asia, business management in Asia, understanding operations from an Asian perspective. And these are the ways in which our participants across different programs can compare and contrast when they're learning similar subjects, whether it's in Morocco or France or over here, what are the different and similar challenges that companies face around the world, and how do they tackle these challenges, keeping in mind the business and cultural contingencies and local context that is extremely important in providing solutions to these companies. We are very proud of our rankings. I have to say, we are extremely proud of it because we are in the top 5, as you can see in many of the programs, if not in some of them we are in the top 10. I won't go into the details of it, but you can see whether it's the Financial Times rankings or the QS rankings or the Economist rankings, we have made tremendous progress in our Master in Management program, in our Master in Finance program, the Global MBA program, our executive education. These are all in the top programs that you can find around the world. While we don't lose sleep in our rankings, we are very mindful that these are some of the key indicators for applicants like you, interested parties like you, who would first go to the rankings to see what these schools are all about. So it provides a lot of validation for the fact that what we are doing on campus, the programs that we have, the kind of pedagogy that we have, the kind of career services and professional development that we're investing in our students is something that is validated by our alumni, is something that is validated by our current participants, as well as informed by the pedagogical innovation, informed by the research innovation that continuously feeds into making all these programs as best as they can. So we are very proud to present this slide to you, and through the day you will have many master classes and information sessions across different programs so that you can learn more, whether it's the Master in Management, Global MBA, or the Master in Finance, the Bachelor's program, and so on. Students and alumni, this infographic here is really just a snapshot of the students that come into ESSEC Asia Pacific. We have over 1,000 students that walk through this campus. The full-time students, the split, as you see, French and non-French, is really a very simplistic way to show our diversity, but it really differs across the program. So in some programs you will have frankly no French students. In some programs you will have maybe 50% French students, in some you may have 30% or less, but we have a diversity of nationalities represented on the campus, and we have undergraduate as well as graduate programs. As I mentioned earlier, more than 60,000 alumni around the world. 400 are in Singapore, and Larry will speak later also about the work that his team does on a continuous basis with the wonderful relations that we have with our Singapore Alumni Association, ESSEC Singapore Alumni Chapter, and how they're continuously involved also in the various programs, whether it's through mentoring, through company visits, through projects, through field trips and internships and so on. So we really want as much as possible to invest all the resources and get people on board to make sure that when we say ESSEC Asia Pacific is geared towards enabling our students to embed themselves in the community, we also provide them with the resources, the training, and the professionalization to enable themselves to do that. All right, the other powerhouse that makes things work here is our multinational and diverse faculty and experts who are based in Singapore. We have about 18 faculty across multiple departments, whether it's finance, economics, management, as well as operations and marketing. We have faculty who have been in our French campus before, who've come here. We have faculty who have started in the Singapore campus and who've been with us for many years. But I rely on my colleagues to enable all these programs to achieve their highest potential, to enable the students to achieve their highest potential. They're very involved in research, they're very involved in pedagogical innovation, and all of them teach across all the different programs. And so if you are a part of ESSEC Business School, it will be our privilege to also expose you to the wonderful faculty that we have here in ESSEC Asia Pacific. The pioneering spirit and the leadership of ESSEC, we are extremely proud of the students and the alumni who have graduated from ESSEC Business School. And when we look at applicants, and frankly, when I look at a potential applicant in an interview situation, I always try to see, how is this person going to be an ambassador of the school? Can this person embody the values of the school? Can this person enable himself or herself to be resourceful, entrepreneurial, have an international mindset? And the examples that you have here on the slide are really a showcase. I mean, it's a snapshot. We have many more, but just to give you a flavor of some of our alumni who've achieved great things around the world. And these are alumni who are based here in Singapore or who have been here in Singapore very recently, to show you that they are very invested in the growth and development of the school. We have some of our alumni on this slide right here with me in this room, and they will also help you share their insights, their thoughts on their experience in ESSEC Business School and how that has helped them in their career development and the kind of decisions and steps that they have taken in their own personal and professional progress. Corporate outreach, again, a snapshot of our embeddedness, and this is something that is really important for ESSEC Asia Pacific, that our students, our faculty, our entire community is embedded within the academic community around us, the corporate community around us, as well as other organizations and institutions. So we have many partners who are sponsoring chairs, that could be pedagogical chairs or research chairs. We also have a lot of executive education clients for whom we provide customized solutions for learning and development. So you have a few examples up over here. I will not mention all the names, but you can see just a snapshot of some of the key partners with us. In terms of career engagement, Larry will also speak with you about that in the coming hours. We have many partners who are involved in activities on campus that are related to professional development, whether it's through a career fair or whether it's through mentoring. And we try to engage as much as possible the alumni of ESSEC Business School who are embedded within these organizations. We also have many consulting projects, and these are related to the academic projects that students will do as a part of the program. So it could be a capstone project, it could be a class project, but these are the ways in which our principles of learning by doing, education by experience comes to life. The things that you learn, whether it's a theory or a framework, is put to test in all the different projects that you will learn, so that you can see what works in one industry, what doesn't work in another industry, or what works in one context, in a certain kind of a market, with a certain kind of a geography and a macroeconomic context, and how it doesn't in maybe another context, and sort of compare and contrast and learn from the similarities and differences of the challenges that these companies face. So to end at least my segment, I invite all of you to stay tuned for the rest of the day, the different programs that we have. I also invite you to contact us. We have all the details up on this slide. You can visit our website if you want more information on any specific program. You can contact the program manager, the program directors, as well as our ambassadors to learn about whether it's the bachelor's program, the master's program, or the executive programs. And stay in touch. We are here to answer all the questions that you might have, and provide you all the resources and information that would help you understand ESSEC Business School better, as well as answer any questions that you might have to help you make a better decision for yourself and for the learning journey that you are thinking about taking with us. So on that note, I would like to bring on board Mr. Larry Medina to take the floor, the chair, to chair the next session on MBA and pivoting the career with a postgraduate degree. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the very best.
Okay, thanks to Deputy Dean Archie. I'd like to continue now. My name is Larry Medina. I'm head of Career Services, Corporate and Alumni Relations here in Singapore, ESSEC Asia Pacific. I have about a 10-minute presentation to talk about the career services and our activities that we do to support all of the students across all programs. And then after that, we will start the panel with our alumni guests. So to start, just to introduce the team, we have my team, myself, and a team of 4 supporting career services and corporate relations and alumni relations here in Singapore. Collectively, experience across top universities here in Singapore. This team has been built out over, there was a team previously, but this team has been built out over the last year and a half to expand the services. We understand the importance of strong support for both our alumni community and for our students. 80 years of collective experience across the team, across a variety of universities, and now working here at ESSEC. Most importantly, really deep network of contacts, of HR contacts, alumni, friends across all industries in Singapore, and also with broader reach across Southeast Asia and Asia markets. So we really look to connect and build relations that we can use to bring in corporate guest speakers to the school for alumni events, and also for academics as well. We will bring in guest speakers to support the professors if they are presenting on a specific topic that we can help with a guest speaker. So career services, here are the categories of services that we provide. So we provide professional career talks. Those take the form of either lunchtime professional talks where we'll bring in a guest speaker to talk about their career journey, to talk about their industry and their company. It's also a tremendous way for students to network with our guest speaker. I would say 80% of the time our guest speaker will be one of our alumni, but we also have friends of ESSEC as well that want to engage with students and want to come in and talk to our students. The other is to bring in more recruitment types of activities. So a company may come in and present about their company. Usually they'll bring a group of staff with them in the evening and have a very focused discussion about their recruitment requirements and the types of profiles they're looking for and to meet students. We also provide one-on-one career counseling for each student. We're available to meet at their request. And that's really to work with them on them understanding themselves, so their skills, their motivators and interests, and what type of career path would they like to take? What type of internships are they interested in? And really working with them on how to get to where they would like to go. Again, understanding their own skills, the types of skills that the employer is looking for. If there are gaps, how do they bridge those gaps? Typically, those meetings are about 1 hour, where the coach will have a confidential one-on-one conversation with the student to really guide them. It can cover any subject related to careers. Somebody just starting out will probably want to be more exploring their own capabilities and really what the market has to offer. Somebody that's deep into the process will probably want more specific advice about maybe skill sets in a specific industry or networking advice to really target a specific individual in a company as well. We provide career workshops for all students, and the workshops are typically around resumes, networking skills, LinkedIn, interview, branding. There's quite a wide range of workshops that we provide to all programs. Some of those are provided with internal staff. I provide the resume workshop across most of the programs, but we also like to bring in external coaches and presenters for these workshops as well. I think it's important to provide a variety of resources for the students to get a variety of information and to really understand strategies on how they can find the perfect internship for them. Interview preparation. So if somebody is through the process and they're starting to enter interview stage with a company, my team and I will do mock interviews with them and really test them and run them through an actual interview process, and then give them advice on how they performed in areas where they should think about changing or improving the way that they're approaching the interview. Company visits, so quite popular here at ESSEC. So for a variety of programs, we will take 20 or 30 students out of the ESSEC campus to go meet with companies. Things like Visa Innovation Center, DHL Innovation Center. For luxury, we were just at Cartier, for example. Last year we were at Van Cleef and Arpels. And so a variety of companies that are interested in meeting students. It's always fun to go out and actually see them either in their retail store, or innovation labs are really popular here in Singapore as well, and to go out and see their innovation labs. Finally, career events. So we have 2 big events every year. We have a postgraduate networking fair that happens in November. This year we had, I believe, 25 companies that came on campus across a variety of industries. And then our talent day or career fair that happens in March. That's a bit bigger. That includes BBA as well as all postgraduate programs. And about 35 companies will attend across all industries: financial services, hospitality, luxury, healthcare, etc. So the aim for that is to provide a variety of companies, some startups as well. Startups like our students, and we'll take them as interns. So really a variety of size, variety of industries, bring them in for an afternoon, and it gives the students a chance to go around and pitch themselves and learn more about the company as well. Okay, so the workshops I talked about, so I'll go through this one fairly quickly because I touched on it in the previous slide. But really the workshops that we provide around introducing career services, what are the services we provide, how to engage with us. Career discovery is what I had touched upon previously. So as a student, what are your skills, motivators, and interests, and really understand your unique selling proposition. It's really critical for you to understand what's unique about you, why an employer would want to hire you. And so career discovery is around that. Resumes, cover letters. We do professional photoshops for the students as well that they can use for their LinkedIn profiles. Personal branding. So again, coming back to your selling proposition and your brand that you're presenting to employers. Internship search. So what are the strategies for finding an internship? Whether it's online platforms, but really networking is a more effective way. And so we kind of walk through the types of strategies that a student can take and what, from a probability perspective, what are the best options? And then networking. So I think I've said that quite a few times already, but really most job searches come down to networking strategies, networking capabilities. And this is where our alumni play a key role for us, because our alumni base here in Singapore is very supportive of the school. They're very energized, and so we talk about students, what's the appropriate way to reach out to our alumni, how to engage, and really how to network with them. Beyond alumni, though, their own personal networks, and even reach out to somebody that they may not know at all. A blind call to somebody, and what's the right way to approach that as well. But really networking is key for not only postgraduate students looking for a job, but really throughout anyone's career, networking is critical. Okay, this is just to give you a sample of some of the professional talks that we've had. This is just a sample because this September, October, we had probably 25 companies come in. These are a few that happened in the second half of last year. So Google, Egon Zehnder, Schneider Electric, BNP. Mr. Chrono is actually a startup from one of our alumni as well, and many more. We had Banyan Tree, we had Acor, the list goes on and on, but These are really, I mean, for me, they're really fun. So they're lunchtime talks. The alumni or the guest speaker will come in for an hour, usually 12:30 to 1:30. And the students will come and listen and ask questions and network. So a big part of what we do is providing these professional talks. Company visits, which I mentioned previously. Again, I named a few of them previously, but here are a couple more that I didn't mention. So Société Générale and Accenture Innovation Hub, Deliveroo, Signify, Hermes as well. And so again, the same thing applies in that we're looking for a variety of companies to give the students as much exposure as we can to a variety of industries, people, and types of companies. Okay, networking with alumni. So we have, I would say about once every 2 months, once every 6 weeks, we will have alumni events. We try to build it around a theme or around a topic. For example, we had an alumni event that was based on unusual uses for blockchain, which was about a year ago. Some of our bigger events, we had our visit to the Asian Civilization Museum. When we have visiting programs from Europe, we will have a combination event of the visiting students from Europe, alumni based here in Singapore, and students are welcome to join those events as well. So it's a good way to meet our very supportive alumni base, usually have a fun time, have a fun night out as well, and make some good connections. Okay, real quickly, just to wrap this up before we move into our panel discussion, just to give you a few thoughts about what we're seeing in the marketplace. And so I won't read this out exactly. You can see the words here. The Hays is an executive search firm based here in Singapore. And I know maybe this is obvious, but really digitalization is affecting every job, even very traditional jobs. And so really there's a rise in hybrid roles, which are combining a bit more of the digital and data types of skill sets along with the more traditional roles. So business intelligence combining with analyst positions, where you provide, you merge insights, analytics, and marketing function together. And so the market is very dynamic right now. Certainly when we talk with employers, we are always discussing digitalization, artificial intelligence, and how that's having an impact on their particular industry, how that's having an impact on the types of positions, the type of people that they are hiring. So one final slide for me before we move into the panel is really the trends that we see in Singapore, and honestly, this is across Asia and probably across the globe. Everything data and digital is in demand at this time across all industries. Technology, so the tech that I mentioned previously, but it's not only the big tech companies. We see very strong demand from obviously the Googles, Amazon Web Services. They're really growing here in Singapore as a hub. Facebook is opening up a bigger office here as well. Grab is expanding just down the road from the ESSEC campus here in Singapore as well. And so it's the big tech companies, but as I mentioned earlier, technology is every industry now. Startups, so we see really strong demand for internships and even full-time hiring for our students. Some of our GMBAs that just graduated in October ended up at startups. There's a vibrant startup community here in Singapore, growing rapidly and again, looking for the skills that ESSEC is able to provide. And then finally, this is probably fairly unique to Singapore. I would say languages are important wherever you are. But certainly in Singapore, because the Southeast Asia market is growing very quickly right now, we see strong demand for Vietnamese, Thai, Bahasa Indonesia, specifically in Singapore to support the Southeast Asia growth. Not to discourage you, but like I say, all languages are important. Because ESSEC is very well known with European multinational corporations, they also do appreciate the European languages because it'll help a local staff here in Singapore communicate back with potentially home office that may be back in Europe as well. So all languages are important. If you happen to speak one of the Southeast Asia languages, you're one of the lucky ones because it's very robust right now here in Singapore for Vietnamese, Thai, and Bahasa. Okay. So I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and now we will start off with our alumni panel. Okay, great. So, zoom out the camera. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so to kick this off, just want to welcome two of our supportive alumni here today. And I'd just like to welcome Monique Thakur and Stephanie Teo today and thank them for being here. I think what will be better than me introducing them is for them to introduce themselves and give a quick overview of their background and what they're doing today. And then a little bit later, we'll delve into their experiences at ESSEC and why they chose ESSEC. Okay, I'd like to kick off.
Right, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm actually from the 2014 MBA cohort. I believe that was the first cohort in Singapore. Very enriching, but has been very impactful. And I made a lot of friends as well. A little bit more about me from the corporate side. So I take care of learning and development. Essentially, I craft the talent and people strategy, implement people practices, right? Develop our workforce and augment organizational capabilities. But to put it very, very simply, is really to create learning experiences, right? Create opportunities for our staff so that we help them to grow and succeed in their careers.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Morning, everyone. My name is Monique Thakur. As Larry mentioned earlier, I've been in Singapore for over 10 years now. I originally hailed from Bombay in India. That's where I grew up. I graduated from ESSEC in Paris at the Cergy campus back in '99, where I did my MBA program, which was specialized in hospitality management, which is why you find me at Marina Bay Sands, which is a hospitality and gaming company here in Singapore. Since '99, I have lived in different parts of the world. I've been fortunate enough, after the MBA program, to be back in India for about a year and a half, and then moved on from there to the Middle East, to Bahrain, to Dubai, then back in Asia to Macau, and then Singapore has been home, as I said, for over 10 years now. My role is in marketing. I've not been a career marketer, so to speak. I started out with analytics and optimization strategies. That was kind of my career path for the first few years after my master's program at ESSEC. And then slowly moved in from hotels to the gaming and casino business. And then in Singapore, optimization for the casino floor, and then marketing for the last 6 odd years. So I've been fortunate enough to have the ability or experience to try different areas of the business, which has allowed me, I think, at least to have a much better rounded mindset today. So that's kind of been my, I guess, the last 20 years since I said.
Great. So I'd like to maybe jump back 20 years and beyond, or I guess for Stephanie, not that long ago, but to really ask you, why, two questions, why did you choose to get a postgraduate degree? And then the second piece of that is obviously for both of you, you had a number of schools that were open to you. And so why did you choose ESSEC to get your postgraduate degree? And let's start with, is that sorry?
Okay, sure. So I My career, actually, I was a personal banker, right? I started, I've been schooled in Singapore all through my life since kindergarten. So have actually enjoyed the Singapore system, grew up here, had opportunities to travel, but not so fortunate like Malik to be in 4 countries over here. And I was actually searching for a point of time where, what could I do next in my career? So having been in banking for almost the last 20 years, I would, and then transiting from a personal banker into human resources, that has been the first pivot in my career. But I've never looked back because I think that has been very enriching. But at a point where I was actually doing learning and development for our bankers over there and helping them to scale their career and also outreach into where we could take the organization to, it also got me to think about what do I do for myself, right? We've been doing a lot of things for others, being in the developmental space, but being in learning also means that we have to continuously upkeep and upscale ourselves. So I was at this career juncture where I wanted more exposure beyond where I am as a human resources, learning and development person. And I wanted to see the world, right? Because I mentioned that all this while been in Singapore. So there was actually this opportunity where ESSEC could offer. I had the best of both worlds, where the program in the executive MBA program actually took us from Singapore to, at that point of time, China, Futan University, right, and to Boston, Babson College. So I think that gave me a breath of the different facades, blending the best of East and West. And for me personally, I think it was also a step away from the Singapore education system, right? And allowed me to get out of my comfort zone. But being a Singapore student, typically we are very quiet. Right? We keep a lot of things to ourselves, let other people speak first. A lot of things brew in our minds, and we're wondering, hey, are we speaking, things that resonate with people? Are we making sense before we make a statement? So that's how we have been, born and bred over here. Now, truthfully or rightfully, I'm not sure whether it's the same today. But if I take my boy, who is in secondary school today, versus my friend who migrated to Canada, there's a vast difference, right? The show and tell curriculum in most schools in Singapore have yet to, meet the standards of the Europeans, where they're very vocal, very confident. So I wanted to latch on that, right? And I think as Singaporeans, we do also have our substance. We do also know our stuff as well. And it's a matter of just putting across what we are confident of. And ESSEC gave me that platform because I was put actually in a cohort with a diversity of people, right? I remember at the point of time, we had only 4 Singaporeans, a couple of French, and we also a diversity of, I think we had Canadians, we also had someone from Indonesia, Malaysia, and it was actually this melting pot that brought people together. And what's really unique about it is not only the network, but the diverse perspective that everyone actually brought. So I would say that for ESSEC, it has been a turning point, right, in shaping the way I think and the confidence really that is built in someone.
Great. Yes, for me, I think it's interesting that Stephanie, your sort of move to get an education at ESSEC was kind of mid-career and switching careers. For me, it was more at the very early stages, kind of just kick-starting my career. So that was a different, I guess, a different perspective to have. And I would always think back whether the timing of my master's program was the right time or not. I guess there isn't any right time. I've come to realize it's really what you're trying to get out of a program and what your goal in your career or in your life is, which is kind of what an MBA plays a key role. So for me too, it was quite important to get out and see the world. I was always focused on having more of an global or international perspective. My education, just like Stephanie's, was predominantly in India, and the only 2 years that I got to live and study overseas was when I was at ESSEC. So choosing to go to ESSEC, I wanted a career in hospitality. I was quite influenced with that at the early part of my life. ESSEC offered a master's program, in fact, an MBA in hospitality. It still does, obviously. It's called IMHI, which is at the Sergi campus. At that time, it was in partnership with Cornell University. So to be honest, I had written to Cornell University back then, they introduced me to ESSEC as well at the same time. And when I looked at the program, the opportunity to have not just professors from Cornell, but we had all of them as well as professors from ESSEC. And the beauty of this was, IME and ESSEC brought down professors from other universities, from the UK, from other parts of the United States, and obviously from France and Europe. That was very, very attractive for me. Needless to say, having an MBA degree as opposed to just a master's program at Cornell, certainly beneficial. And if you ever go to Cornell, to Ithaca, I'm sure you'll quickly run away and want to be in Paris. So that was kind of that was the other icing on the cake for me. For me, it was having that international perspective, having a much more wider view of the world, having the diversity, as Stephanie talked about as well, of alumni, of existing students, as well as the faculty that you have access to. And that was very, very attractive, and I can certainly say that it has played a major role for me, having then the opportunity to live and work in different countries, which is very, very eye-opening. Learning from different cultures, different backgrounds, different people you meet at university as well as after that. To me, that has been one of the greatest learnings that I take out of the master's program. So I guess that was what I was looking for. That's kind of what I focused on at the program and after.
Okay, great. So I think strong themes around the international exposure and the diversity of classmates, which is something that at ESSEC we're quite proud of as well. So to build on this a bit, after you completed your ESSEC degree, I guess a bit around, and you touched on this already a little bit, but what skill sets do you think you specifically picked up as part of the program? And I know it's hard to speculate, but as far as what type of acceleration or maybe slight change of direction that maybe happened after the degree that you felt was part of being part of the ESSEC family. Why don't we start with one question?
So Larry, as you said, yes, there were. We talked a little bit about about what ESSEC offered, at least me and the kind of push that allowed me to have, as far as my career is concerned, with the diversity in different cultures. I guess the coming from India with the type of education system that existed then, it's obviously changed and evolved with time, but it was very theoretical in its style. And it was very much more focused on textbook learning. What I got to experience with ESSEC, the style adopted then, was extremely non-textbook style. Yes, of course, you have to have textbooks to sort of just guide you along the way, but a lot of focus on research. You start out, you have a good, strong foundation, you have direction from the professors, a lot of experience that they will share, and then you're allowed to go out and research stuff on your own. There's a lot of project-based stuff as well that helps you find your feet in a lot of ways. That makes you go out and learn to do things on your own. You're not dependent on someone in a classroom environment preaching to you as much as you are on your own self and what you truly get out of it. So that, I think, was a great skill to pick up. I didn't necessarily it's funny. I started my career in analytics and revenue optimization. I didn't quite, focus on those courses at EB. I had a very broad sort of MBA focus. We had the organizational behaviors, the learning and development, the marketing, all of that. But revenue management, revenue optimization, and analytics wasn't a core focus. But having had a broader view and a kind of find your own feet and way to sort of maneuver around an organization allowed me to take that risk as I started out my career. So I think that risk-taking ability also, I think, makes it helps having this kind of a foundation, I guess.
Okay, great. Second.
Yeah, for me, actually, when I was considering to take a postgrad program, I think what really came to me was to have a breakthrough, right, in the analysis as well as the research skills, right? I think at every point of our career, there is actually the need to do different things. Your role will have expanded, perspective you need to give to a particular role, project, right? You need to actually take on a different angle. So I was at this point where I was struggling to kind of pivot, right? And get a wider view of things. So I think for me, it was really much business acumen, as well as the ability to strategize, right? And to have also that ability to communicate on the table with the C-suite. The level of depth and intellectual thinking then will be very different. And where I would be coming from is not my own subject matter expert as a functional specialist, but where I would need then to turn the conversation into what really matters to the business. I think what ESSEC provided me was that, right? We had quite an intensive, I think it was a 14 or even 18 months program. I had to take a week off work, and that was, I would have never imagined where we got that strength to go through, because it was work in the day, in the night you go back to office, and in the night again, or early wee morning hours, you'll be doing your research papers. Right. And I had a little boy at that point of time. So it has been trying and tremendously very tiring as well. But at the end of the journey, it has also been very fruitful. But the point that I'm making over here is, I think where we wanted was the pragmatism between what knowledge has actually put down. Not only textbook, classroom knowledge, but what we gain out of it, right, is the ability to marry a robust curriculum with what the business world is looking for. And we benefited a lot actually from the business immersion visits that we actually go. So ESSEC has designed a program in such a way that every time after a particular module, there will be either an external speaker from a particular organization, or perhaps we may even have an opportunity to visit the companies. And that actually helped us to look at things not from an academic perspective, but that also provided that practical element, and that also inevitably shaped the way we look at things as well. And I think that really, really helped to broaden the entire exposure for myself particularly.
Okay, good. So the just to build on that theme a little bit on the corporate engagement at ESSEC compared to what I've seen at other schools is very, very deep, and so I think that is one of the things that Stephanie just touched on as well. My question for you now is, things are developing rapidly. You're both senior in your companies and your industries. If somebody that was, let's say, maybe 25, 30 years old asked you for advice about a business postgraduate degree, what advice would you give them? What are the things that they should be thinking about today if they're looking to get a postgraduate degree?
I don't know if advice is the right word, but at least some sort of experience, I guess, is what we might be able to share. I think it's quite cliche or quite common to say you should know what you want. And it's true. I think nailing down your objective for doing a master's program particularly, I think that is absolutely critical, because that's what's going to guide the way you approach a master's program and what you end up doing after that as well. I think, you know, a bachelor's program is a little bit more sort of guided and structured, in the sense that, you know, compared to what a master's program is, where you get what you invest into the program yourself. So I think that objective is very, very important to know. Whether it's, you know, as Stephanie said earlier, it was a career switch, thinking of things differently, allowing yourself to have a much more strategic, focused view of how businesses are run. I think all of those objectives are critical. Today's environment, and we are going through quote-unquote a crisis situation across Asia, and dare I say the rest of the world as well, is how do you work and adapt yourself in this ever-changing environment? I think more and more you'll find that there is, you know, every single year, at least if you look back, we've seen constantly some sort of crisis, some sort of challenge, whether it's economic, whether it's geopolitical, whether it's, in this case, you know, healthcare. There's always been some, you know, challenge that you're faced with, which is unplanned. And so I think this is going to be, or is, the new normal. And to be able to learn how to work and maneuver yourself, both you know, professionally and personally, through these kind of environments is, I think, one of the most important skills to have as you come out of a program at school.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. I would really add on to that word adaptability. Right? I think over the years, I have seen how roles have evolved. So we were also having a very interesting discussion on, you know, in the past, you will have roles where you need typists to type in the minutes, right? But today, that no longer exists, right? The skill to be able to type fast, it's basically non-existent. But what is probably a little bit important today is really about the ability to be more digitally savvy, right? If you actually look at an app, you could intuitively pick it up fairly quickly. So with that, right, I think at the end of it, I do agree with you. It's a little bit cliche to say, hey, do something that you're really interested in. But I do also want to emphasize that is also very critical as well, because you need to be passionate in what you do. When you are passionate in what you do, you believe in it, and the rest will fall in place. So I think it's also important to combine that passion with what you think your skill set will be able to complement the business world today. And the ability to then see out what are some of the critical skill sets, like what Larry has actually pointed out in his earlier slide deck, where he actually talks about data skills, right? And where perhaps in different roles, the evolution of how data is being used today is important. One may not need to be a data scientist, right? You may not actually need to go down the track of being a data scientist, but definitely data skills in today's world, whatever role that may be, is very important. We will need to be able to look at the patterns in data and be able to tell data stories so that we can make informed decisions on data, based on the data that is presented to us. So back to actually an advice, you know, on where you should be heading in terms of career, whether a postgrad degree is important. There are many options today, right? There are programs out there where focuses on micro skills. There's a lot of online MOOC programs. And of course, there is the angle of business schools like ESSEC. I've actually done comparison before I actually took up the ESSEC Business School, right? I'll be very honest with you, it crossed my mind that why not I just take the online certificate. There's a lot of programs out there. Coursera offers them, where you can take an 8-week, 6-week program in design thinking, right, or even data analysis. And some of them would claim to give you that certification to be a certified professional in a particular field. But then again, I took a step back, right? And I offer you a perspective in terms of a T-shaped individual, where a lot of organizations are looking for currently. A T-shaped individual is someone with a spectrum of multidisciplinary knowledge. And yet at the same time, the individual is also vertically very deep in his or her expertise. And that is actually that kind of individual, whatever roles that you may be looking for, an organization will really appreciate. The ability to straddle between different specialties, right? You're able to talk from psychology to business to even data, AI, or blockchain, and then be able to translate that knowledge into what an individual is doing. So as I actually took that notion and look back at where perhaps the different education modes offer, then perhaps a business school, given that they are very sound in research and they have professors who are very knowledgeable and skilled in a particular field, you actually get the best of all worlds, right? And I think the best part is package deal. So rather than you go out and be anchored in just one skill, which is equally important, but at the same time, I think in today's world, being that subject matter expert is not enough to pivot your career. You really need a spectrum, a wide array of skills in order to help you to look at things from different channels.
No, I think that's a very, 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 very important and valid point that you made, Stephanie. I think that having the diversity of knowledge as opposed to being an expert in each of these areas, I think that's very, very important, particularly in today's world as we see working, in multidisciplinary environments. You can't achieve something just, being a specialist in your area and leaving others to do other areas. I think those, I don't want to use the term silos, that was like a long time ago, but you talk about boundarylessness today, right? And I think those boundaries don't exist. They're kind of blurred, if you may, where if, in my role as a marketer, I don't just do marketing. I have to make sure that I understand the operations of the business as well. I understand data analytics and the use of technology for marketing and how it works. So I think those interfaces and understanding of each of these areas, I think today is absolutely critical, and which is what a business school program certainly offers a very, very strong dynamic foundation in. The access to, faculty that has such diversity of knowledge and experiences, as well as, particularly if you're kind of mid-career looking for a switch, you're going to have colleagues in class that come from various different backgrounds and experiences in industry. And that shared knowledge in this kind of an environment, you're never going to get the ability to do that, as you go through your day-to-day work sort of roles. This allows you to take a step back, stop, to really interact and engage and think across different industries and disciplines, which I think is a very, very important aspect of what a business school offers.
And I think that's really interesting, because the way that a lot of organizations are transforming today, right, to Malik's word, is really boundless, right? A role may be marketing today, or it could be a salesperson, or it could be a data analytics individual. And many of you perhaps might have heard about the term working in an agile organization, which means to say that regardless of what roles that you are in, you may be put into cross-functional projects, right? And you will be expected, regardless of which division, which department, which function you are from, then be able to play the role, to put on a hat, and have the helicopter view of saying, hey, what is the truth of the problem that we are facing today? And the ability then to use, if I use the term design thinking, the ability then to put yourself in the shoes of the customers, the shoes of the stakeholder, and solve their problem actually becomes very, very real and very important. And that innovative and creative spirit is what actually organizations are looking for today. And I think the program puts us through that rigor. It challenges us to then think out of the box, right? Beyond the subjects that have been taught. But then how do we then apply it back to our organizations? That is actually the key.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one final question before we wrap up the panel. And it kind of builds on everything that we've been talking about, the idea of maybe doing an online course versus coming to a business school. Because for me, a lot of times I feel it's about the people and the relationships built throughout the program. So for both of you, I kind of like to ask, is there one professor or classmates that you felt was particularly inspiring or had an impact on you through the program, and why? And so let's start with Stephanie with this particular question.
Yeah, sure. So I think there's a best professor award. Actually goes to Professor Sedomia.
Okay.
I was actually shopping around for business schools, right? And there are actually a lot of choices in Singapore. Thanks to the Singapore government for bringing a lot of world-class education into Singapore, and I think and that's something the government has done really well. So I was looking at it, and Prof. Sodoma actually came to speak to me. I mean, I know it could be a marketing thing to promote ESSEC, but what actually set him apart was his advice on what do you really want in a career. But at the end of it, for me, it was not about climbing the corporate ladder, right? It was more about knowledge expansion. It was more about deepening myself as an individual, and more importantly, the exposure that I was seeking for at that point of time in my career. And Prof was actually very clear. He actually coached me into thinking, at the end of this program, what do I walk away with? What do I take away with? And I must say that he helmed the very first module, and we were all swept away, by his expertise, by his ability to engage us, not very much in a very theoretical format, but he was able to challenge us and really put us out of that comfort zone to think beyond what actually we have been very used to.
Okay, great.
So if there was one professor or one classmate that inspired me, I'd say yes, there was a particular professor that was very inspirational. 20 years ago at ESSEC, Professor Michael Olson, still in touch, still kind of know and remember what he spoke to us about. And I think the reason why I was extremely inspired by him is, out of all the professors we had who were in their own right experts in their fields, Professor Olson was the way he thought through things and problems, and how he challenged us in a specific program. The program he ran was considered to be one of the most difficult programs at EB. And to be successful in that program was, I think, a highlight of every student 2 years in that program. But what he got you to think about was kind of really getting the best out of you as an individual. It was a strategic thinking class, and you heard these terms, right? That he kind of very artistically simplified in class, and it did not remain a intimidating sort of area anymore. The way we would talk about it, the way he simplified it. More importantly, how he made you think about yourself and how you change your approach and style of thinking that really allows you to get the best out of that program and make you look at the world very, very differently. So it was extremely challenging in that course, because you kind of go in there thinking, right, I know, they'll talk to me about strategy, I'll learn, take notes, research a little bit, I'm good. No, it's very, very different. So I think that really till today has been extremely relevant, the way he, simplified things and talked and thought through things. In terms of colleagues, I think there have been a number of classmates. The beauty of being at ESSEC was the fact that there were very varied and different tracks and programs.
Yes.
So we were able to even take courses in 3 or 4 other programs that ESSEC offer. So I was lucky enough to meet a lot of students from other programs who are not thinking hospitality, as I was. There was a luxury MBA program back at ESSEC in Paris, and then there was, at that time, the ESSEC Business program in Sergi was offered in French, and EMI and the luxury MBA program was the only English language-based program. All of the programs ESSEC offered then were in French.
Yeah.
I did not speak the language when I went to France, so you can imagine my angst in the first couple of months. But by year 2, I actually took courses at ESSEC Business School, which were purely offered in French. Now, was I proficient in the language? Probably not. It was just enough to get around the place. But I had students and colleagues and classmates who would end up helping for the program as well. And that to me was a phenomenal learning and experience. So to be able to do that was another big achievement. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think over the last 20 years, because with the new French roots and world school view, the MBA is in English now, but I do think because there's such a strong French presence, obviously a lot of the students will use French as their casual language as well. So that's one thing that is impressive with ESSEC as well, is the focus on languages for the students as well. So with that, I'd like to thank my 2 panelists. Thank you, Mani, and thank you, Stephanie. Really appreciate you coming here today on a Saturday morning, almost afternoon now, and sharing your insights into your career journey, your education, and your advice for future students. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you for having us.
Just to wrap things up, I would like to just talk about 2 things. One is the admissions rounds that are coming up. So for the Global MBA, there is round 3 that's coming up starting in 29th, or the deadline is the 29th of March. Round 4 is the 14th of June. So for those of you interested, please email us at essecasia@essec.edu. For the specialized master programs that you can see on the slide here, the round 3 deadline is the 3rd of March, and the round 4 deadline is the 28th of April. Again, for any questions that you have from anything that we presented here today, you can email to essecasia@essec.edu. And then my final announcement is our virtual open house today, our virtual open day today will continue. So the next session's at 12:45. One will be for the ESSEC Global BBA experience, starting at 12:45. There will be a parallel session that will be digital business platform opportunities and challenges unveiled, starting at 12:45 as well. So we hope you stay tuned in for the sessions that are coming this afternoon. And thank you for your attention. Really appreciate you, again, you taking time off on a Saturday to be with us virtually. Thank you very much.